You're running behind schedule, a customer is upset, and you're searching for a delayed part in the van. The pressure is on. At Fry, technical skill is the baseline requirement. You know how to fix the plumbing or the HVAC system, but in these high-stress moments, the way you communicate dictates whether a customer trusts us or loses confidence entirely. This flowchart details the Fry pressure loop, the instinctual reaction when sudden stress disrupts the job. When triggered, people fall into predictable habits. They defend themselves, nervously over-explain with too much detail, or completely shut down, leaving everyone guessing. Giving in to that initial 5-second emotional reaction might feel good in the moment, but it consistently creates a massive logistical cleanup job for you, dispatch, or leadership later in the day. We cannot eliminate pressure from this industry. Our success depends entirely on controlling the immediate seconds right after it hits. Imagine a comfort advisor sitting across from a homeowner. The estimate is on the table, and the customer is furious about a sudden price shock. Let's freeze the frame right here. The tension is high. The customer is waiting for an answer, and the advisor is bracing for an argument. Pressure does not excuse poor communication. Instead, pressure strips away our polish and reveals our baseline habits. This window is where you decide if the conversation continues to escalate or begins to stabilize. To break the pressure loop, you need a new baseline habit. We call it the 10-second reset, and it relies on 3 words: pause, aim, speak. Step 1 is to breathe. Taking one slow, deliberate breath physically halts your body's fight or flight response. It buys you the space to process what is actually happening. Step 2 is to check your state. Run a quick internal audit. Ask yourself if you are tired, rushed, or defensive, so you do not project those emotions outward onto the client or your team. Step 3 is choosing the outcome. This funnel represents taking all those chaotic emotions and narrowing them down to a single goal. You pivot from emotional defense to outcome-based thinking. Are you trying to calm the customer, get accurate information, keep the job moving? Decide your target. Step 4 is to say less. Once you have your outcome, strip away the extra words. True confidence sounds concrete and succinct. It actively counters the natural, nervous urge to over-explain. These 4 steps shift your focus from a biological reaction to a deliberate choice. You move from defensive survival to proactive problem-solving before you ever start speaking. Time unfreezes. You've checked your state. Now you apply the Fry calm-down structure out loud to actively de-escalate the conflict. This timeline tracks the structure of the conversation. The first half requires you to actively acknowledge their frustration. You tell them you understand why they are upset, and then you clarify the situation by asking precise, targeted questions. The second half shifts to action. You take ownership of the very next step, even if you don't have the final answer yet. Then you set a clear, reliable expectation for when you will follow up. In practice, it sounds exactly like this. I hear you. Let me make sure I understand. Here is what I am going to do next, and I will call you back by 3 p.m. Applying this specific structure forces the other person to feel heard. It instantly lowers the temperature of the room and turns an argument into actual progress. This framework applies exactly the same way when the tension comes from inside the house. An installer frustrated with a messy handoff might instinctively blame the sales department. When that happens, we rely on a specific internal rule. Assume the process or the handoff failed before assuming the individual person failed. This keeps the conversation focused on solutions rather than accusations. This brings us to a core standard. Own the next step. Even if you didn't create the scheduling error or the missing part, the subsequent communication is still your responsibility. Refusing to engage in the internal blame game in front of customers, avoiding phrases like, "this badge overbooked us," ultimately protects the overarching trust in the Fry brand. The ultimate goal of the 10-second reset is containment. It ensures that one stressful moment with a client or a coworker doesn't domino into a systemic team failure. Identify the moments that trigger you in the field. Commit to the internal audit. Take a breath, aim for the right outcome,